Hello and welcome to another edition of the Lords of Football Football Show. My name's Steve and with me today I've got Cliff. Hi Cliff.
Hi Steve, you right?
Manchester United supporter.
Yes, always.
Okay, and you've basically given up on Europe.
Well,
But in saying that, we could end up with not one English team in the
True,
quarterfinals
yeah.
of the Champions League this
True.
season. What's all that about?
I just think that European teams are getting better and better, to be honest. There's no more cannon fodder like there used to be. There's, ex-Becky Jean like in national teams and all that, but in the Champions League there's no like cannon fodder anymore. A lot of the teams got a lot of money, like the Russian team. We've got Etu, we've got a lot of cash, so it's quite even at the moment, to be honest. And I think this year a lot of like the English teams are probably taking a bit lackadaisy, for a better word, to be honest.
So you think they can sort of ultimately think they can get into
Yeah.
the quarterfinals
Yeah.
and semi-finals without having to do so much? I mean, Man United is a perfect example.
Thanks.
Sorry to go back to Man United, but group stages, one decent, well, not even one decent home performance. One game they won against a team that I can't even name because nobody's ever heard them before, and they struggled to get that win.
Yeah, it's true.
So what's all that about with Man United?
Well, I went to a home game myself against Ajax, and the atmosphere there was quite quiet, to be honest. It seems like a lot of the success has got to our heads up to a certain point, and sometimes you need a bit of a down point to realise how good it was, to be honest. So
what do you reckon? Changing manager?
No. Into Alex we trust.
I think Barcelona and Real Madrid at the moment are standing out as just head and
Yeah,
shoulders above
yeah,
everybody else.
I have to agree with you. I didn't think Real Madrid would be that good this year, but I think Jose Mourinho has done a really good job, to be honest, because they're 10 points clear of like Barcelona in the league, and also playing some really good football in the Champions League. Obviously, Barcelona has been playing the best football for the last 5-6 years, whatever it is, but it's good to have Real Madrid there. If we can't be there, to be honest.
You mentioned Mourinho there. Obviously, Chelsea just got rid of another manager again. I mean, what's going on there? Every sort of 6-12 months, they're swapping managers again. I mean, no consistency.
No idea. I think continuity is necessarily consistency as well for the team. It's not very good, to be honest. And I think as well need to get, dare I say it, an Englishman in there, to be honest. Just to settle the ship, steady it a little bit, get rid of some of the old boys, as I call them. It's like an old boy team, But there's no youth players coming through, and there's like a team from like the London capital. There should be teams from homegrown players coming through the team, but there's none. That Josh McEachran is the only person you can think of. I bet you couldn't name another Chelsea youth player.
How often does he get a game?
Well, he's been shipped out to Bolton now, Swansea, hasn't he?
So anyway, Chelsea manager, there's been a few comments on the Laws of Football Facebook page about this, and Michel Loray has said Pep Guardiola. There's been obviously lots of people saying Pep Guardiola, but Brian O'Donoghue has said Ray Wilkins.
Good choice, good shout, a good shout there. English manager we talked about before, I think it's a good shout, yeah.
Right, okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about Lords of Football, the game now. Obviously we've had a lot of interest in it, it's coming out this year, and the first thing I want to talk about is the importance of training. Training plays a big part in Lords of Football. The way you train your players can obviously have a big effect on how they perform on the field, on the day. One of the great things about Lord of Football is it's not just about stats. You look at other games and you have to look at numbers going up and down and thinking, yeah, he's getting better, he's not getting better. But with Lords of Football, the great thing about it, you can actually watch the players training and see if they're improving or not.
So you always hear about managers saying he performed well in training, don't you? Like, for instance, Fergie always says, Rooney done well in training today, or vice versa. So actually see it happening, I think it's a really good idea. You don't see it in many games, to be honest, because, say, for instance, one training session, Phil might excel than anybody else, do you know what I mean? And you never see him otherwise. So I think, it's a really good idea. It's a good concept.
Yeah, I like the idea of actually standing on the touchline in a 3D world, and you can actually send these players out and give them training regimes and think, actually, look, his shooting's getting better. He's actually hitting the target more now, or he's still blazing it over the bar. So I'll change this around. But I think the whole aspect of not just playing with numbers anymore, I mean, that's pretty much old school, isn't it?
It's changed. As you say, you can tweak something, if he's shooting or heading not up to speed. He might have it 6 out of 10 or something like that. You can improve it into 8 out of 10, for instance, and that could be the goal on Saturday that he scores. So I think, it's a good idea, definitely.
Yeah, I love this concept. I think it's a brilliant concept because one of the reasons I never really played sort of football management games that were like that because it was all about numbers, and I didn't want to work off an Excel spreadsheet. Spreadsheets are boring. Football's about football. It's not about spreadsheets, and I think what Laws of Football have done is a great idea to actually produce a 3D world we can actually really watch your players train, and
and develop.
it takes away the boredom. With other games, like I used to play that had sort of training and all this sort of thing, I used to ignore it.
Yeah.
It was like, well, I don't need to do this. I want to look
Is
at
it
the
really
spreadsheet.
worth
I do it at work every day. Why? I want to play a game. I want to enjoy it, and at least with this, it adds, for me, it adds more real life feel to the game. So
Yeah, I certainly agree. Most of the games I used to play, the numbers oriented, like you said before. So I actually see them training and stuff. And I keep going on about it, but you don't get them in any football management games. So I think it's a lot better. Also, as well, sometimes you think to yourself, does it actually make a difference when he trains? To actually see it actually changing, I think will make a huge difference to everybody.
Yeah. So I'm not going to sit down and look at a load of stats.
No.
I just want to go out and watch them play and everything like that. But if I can actually watch them train and think, you're improving. Yeah, okay, you're in the team this week. I'll give you a go, and it just makes it more realistic for me. So.
Yeah, definitely.
Laws of football, where you actually get to manage the team. And the players on and off the field, which again is an interesting concept in itself. I think we had Richard on the show last week who was saying it's really important nowadays to actually manage the players off the field as it is managing on the field.
Sometimes football is like a whole package for a player. Do you know what I mean? Whether he moves to a different area, if his family's settling in, that can affect how he's playing as well. So sometimes you've got to be like a hands-on and a man manager as well at the same time. So in the game, you've got that sort of aspect, and I think a lot of people relate to that.
Another situation I think we spoke about earlier was when Balotelli went to a petrol station and paid for everybody's petrol. I mean, as a manager, what do you do about that? Do you say get on with it and carry on doing these silly things, or do you pull into one side?
I think it's difficult because they always say that with genius comes like daftness sometimes. So I always think if you look at it as a Van Gogh, for argument's sake, I mean, people always say
Van Gogh, who do you play for?
They always say that sometimes genius sometimes is daftness. I think with Balotelli, I'd talk to him about it. I wouldn't take that away from him because if I turned up at the petrol station, he's going to pay for my gas. I wouldn't say no. So I kind of think that people look at him like in a famous way because footballers always give him a bad deal or a rough deal. Do you know what I mean? They always complain about the soldiers, obviously, not earning as much as footballers. So it's nice to see an actual footballer going out and giving something back to everybody. But then you have to say to him, curb it a little bit. Do you know what I mean? But don't take it away.
So if you were Man City, you just say curb it. You wouldn't say stop doing it.
No, I wouldn't say stop
doing all these crazy things off the field.
Well, just don't get seen all the time.
But why do you think people play football management games anyway?
I'm on the same thing. Everybody wants to be a manager, and we all got opinions about the game ourselves. They call us like tracksuit managers or armchair managers. And I'm always screaming at the TV. If Fergie makes the wrong decision, I'm the first person in the house to tell him so, even though he can't hear me. So I'm always shouting at the players. Pass the ball again, they can't hear me. So I think the reason why we people like myself play football management games because we can't be managers.
Lionel Messi, fantastic performance for Barcelona the other day. 5 goals in Champions League game. Everybody on the Laws of Football Facebook page at the moment is talking about Messi as the best player in the world ever. Any thoughts on this?
I do think he's probably, in our time, one of the best. Definitely one of the best. But personal preference, best football I've seen in my generation has to be Zinedine Zidane. The reason being is to score a winner in the FA Cup, European Championships, and the Champions League final cements it for me. So I think Zinedine Zidane is the best player I've ever seen in my lifetime, to be honest. But Messi is definitely up there, but he's not the best of all time.
Zinedine Zidane scoring in the FA Cup final. Was that the French FA Cup final? Because I'm pretty sure he hasn't scored in the English Cup final.
I meant the Champions League final. I apologise.
Do you want to go with that again?
No, I want to keep that in.
Champions League final, definitely.
Champions League, yeah.
I just think that the player's got to produce it on the world stage. He has on the Champions League, but he hasn't in the World Cup. Whenever the World Cup comes along, Argentina always falls short. Now, if he was that great, it'd be like Maradona and Zidane and carry the team, to be honest.
Matthew Jack on our Facebook page on Laws of Football has actually made a few comments about the best player, and talking about best, I said George Best for me was the world's best player, but Matthew said that best career was over at the age of 26, which it was, and he says Pelé never did it in a competitive league, which he didn't really, but he done it at World Cups, he proved himself on the international stage. And then he's talking about Maradona, but he reckons Messi's catching up with Maradona because of his goals for game ratio.
Yeah, agreed.
Plus, Messi's only 24,
that's good.
which I can't believe he's only 24 years old.
Makes you think, how old was he when he joined Barca then?
Yeah,
at the beginning? I think it's about 15, 16, something like that. But he can only get better, do you know what I mean? But I think he's got to prove it at the World Cup for me.
Yeah.
And that will cement him as the best player.
Yeah.
Exactly. But Barcelona, no word about that, he's exceptional. But I think, look, players you've been talking about there, George Best, Even Pele said he was the best player in the world at his time. So
I think it's. I'm going to go for Maradona at the moment, but I think Messi is going to better Maradona if he can do it with Argentina at international level, and there's no reason why he can't.
No.
So we'll see come the next World Cup. But I'm going for Maradona, and you're going for
Zidane,
right?
but not the FA Cup.
But not in the FA Cup. Right, well, unfortunately, that's all we've got time for again in this show, but there will be another one coming up very soon. And don't forget, if you've got any questions you'd like to throw at us for the next show, please go on our Lords of Football Facebook page. Details coming on the bottom of the screen right now. But for now, Cliff, it's been a pleasure.
Absolute pleasure.
A great insight into Manchester United and football in general. Lords of Football T-shirt for you.
Thank you.
To take away and wear with pride. Until next time, goodbye.